Welcome to the Soul Driven Podcast. I believe that when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. If you are searching for meaning and purpose, if you are unsure about how to combine the spiritual with the everyday, if you are ready to uncover who you truly are, then you've come to the right place. The Soul Driven Podcast is dedicated to exploring the intersection of living a soulful and spiritual life in a driven and ambitious world. Join me for practical guidance, truthful discussions, and interviews with people who are successfully living a soul-driven life. My name is Anna Hendricks, spiritual guide, marketer, and your host. Thank you for being here. What's up, everybody? Hello. Hi. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with me today. I love the solo episodes. I'm not gonna lie. Not even gonna lie. It's definitely quite a bit easier for me to just jump in my room, flip on my microphone and make it happen, I don't have to put on the makeup for the interviews, the things. But, the interviews are amazing too. And, man, it's always an honor to get to share conversation with other folks, hear their stories, all of the things. I have some crazy exciting guests coming in 2022. I've been saying 2021 all day for next year. And it's no, Anna, it's 2022. Hello. But, honestly, the truth is, my mind is running a bit slow today. Coming up on that full moon this weekend, and not just that, but Venus going full on retrograde in Capricorn, which that's how it is set up in my chart natally. Although Venus is not retrograde in my natal chart, but still. And I feel this one big time. It's like I've been walking around with this haze around my head, and it's all good. It's all good. And I'm here with you, and that's what's most important. And I gotta say, I want to say thank you to everyone who has been reaching out and saying hello and sharing feedback on the episodes and just taking the time to say what's up. It means so much to me to hear from you because, I'm here. I'm by myself. And I'd be lying if I said it doesn't kind of get lonely sometimes, And of course, there have been those periods throughout the past 2 years when it's man, is anybody out there? Is anyone listening? And of course, I can look at analytics and numbers, but that's numbers, When I hear from you, when I see your name, it's just, makes my day. So please don't hesitate to reach out. If you have a question, if you want to share some feedback, if you have ideas, I'm open. You can email me, souldrivenpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. So, yeah. I'm excited to dive into today's topic. What is spirituality? It might seem like an obvious topic, a random topic, a general topic, but it's something that has really been sitting on my heart for about 2 months now. And I think it was over a week and a half ago where it really came through this is the next topic you need to talk about. Because I think that, it's mind-blowing how spirituality has become so trendy as of late. And I think it's really important that we think about what it is, what it isn't, and really just kind of get recentered in that in the midst of the hoopla. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about this and share this with you today. So a couple of things on the front end, some great announcements. First of all, I just want to reiterate, if you are finding yourself in the midst of difficulty, if you are having trouble staying centered and grounded within yourself, make sure you check out episode 86. You'll also be able to find a link to the full outline of my spiritual toolkit resource list that will really help provide you with a number of different tools that you can utilize in your life at any given moment that can really shift you, really change things very quickly. And I highly recommend checking it out. You don't even have to listen to it. We always post my episodes on the blog on my website, but the full resource list is there. It's right below the show notes. So you can hit up the show notes of this episode to gain access to those. It's free. It's for you. That was something I really felt led to create and provide you because, I know that these are difficult times and not everyone can afford to go out and spend money on readings or on, spiritual guidance sessions or things like that with folks to really help, find their center and kind of get back into an empowered place. And so please check it out, episode 86, if you want to listen. Otherwise, you can check out the blog in the show notes. Next week, I am so pumped. Next week, you're going to get the 2022 forecast with Sarah Elise, who's kind of like a resident astrologer. She is amazing, amazing, amazing. If you missed the one for 2021, go take a listen if that calls to you. Sarah's she's epic. And she's a double Gemini. I'm a double Sagittarius. For those who don't know, these are like opposite signs, but super, like any of the opposite signs are very similar. Bottom line, we both love to talk. We like philosophy. We like a bit of debate. So she is going to be talking about what we have to look forward to astrological wise in 2022. I've got some questions for her, but then I'm also bringing in what the Akashic Records will be channeling through for 2022. So the following episode after the one with Sarah Elise will actually be that full reading for the 2022 forecast from the Akashic Records. And I am sitting down with the records. I'm literally asking them a bunch of different questions. And so it's very much like a full-on reading. It's not just a message. So you're definitely going to want to check that out. And then just a heads up that I will be taking a break for the month of January. We've been thinking about potentially like resharing episodes, like our most popular episodes through the month of January. I'm not sure what we're going to do just yet. I took January and ended up taking February off of this year, and that was so helpful for me to just really regain strength, clarity, vision. I've already been super inspired and am crazy excited for what's to come in 2022 with this podcast. But I definitely want to take some time to myself and just again, recenter, really think about how it is I can best serve you. So that's a little bit of a heads up. But we'll just kind of see what's going to happen as we get closer. And then I'll be returning on February 2nd, 2022, which is it's an insane date, right? All the twos, all lined up with the February Akashic reading, and boom. We'll kick it off. We will kick it off. So if you have been listening to this show and you have been enjoying it and you want to do something really wonderful for me, a great, great Christmas present would be to hop on to iTunes and rate this show. You don't even have to leave a review. Just if you can just go in and click, however many stars you think it deserves. If you want to leave a review, that would be amazing. But for the longest time, there was such an issue with reviews, not being published for this podcast. And that's how it gets out in front of other people. And I need your help to do that. So that could be the one thing that you do for me, that would be incredible. So yeah, check out iTunes. Just click some stars. That would be incredible. Also, just a reminder that through the month of December, I was just going to let that ambulance go by because yes. That's the fun part about living downtown, right? And fun part, I'm saying that very I'm just, yeah. I'm always trying to be positive. After 2021, I'm like, we got to move cuz that I want space and I want quiet. Anyway, so also don't forget, through the month of December, you can get 15% off the Akashic readings with me, the soul readings. So there's the 3 question and then the 60-minute or the 90-minute video readings. I have been meeting with so many of you. It has been absolutely incredible. It is always such an honor to sit down with you on your journey to help you clarify what's going on in your life. So if you are finding yourself in the midst of transition, relationships has been a huge theme, please book a session with me. Let's dive in. Let's see what's going on. You can ask questions about a new job, potentially moving somewhere else. If you're wanting to get clarification around some patterns that you see popping up a lot, your purpose, what it is you're here to do, like all of those things. Great, great questions for the records. So you will find that link in the show notes, and the code is just thankful. And finally, I'm really excited to share with you that my guides have been kicking my butt. For those who don't know, I've really been off social media, and it's been epic. It's been amazing. However, they really want me to be getting back out in front of people and showing my face. It's one of those things that's it's written in the stars. It's all over my human design chart, my astrology chart. I mean, yeah, they're like, you're not meant to be holed up and away, Anna. And so I am going to start doing weekly live Akashic reading forecasts on YouTube. I haven't gotten the full details yet. I haven't completely settled into that. They will be coming, but make sure that you follow my YouTube channel if that is something that you're interested in. It's going to be fun. I'm going to show up to hang out. I will be channeling for a message for the upcoming week, probably talking about it, answering any questions you might have, getting some of your feedback. I might pull some cards. I might do a little dance. I don't know. But you should definitely plan to come hang out. And if you can't hang out live, not a problem, because of course those videos will live on the YouTube channel. Okay, that's all. Thank you for your patience in that. Okay, so today's topic, what is spirituality? Again, one of the reasons that I think I really felt called to talk about this is because spirituality it's become so trendy, right? We've got all of these names that are just twin flames, and I mean, just all these things that are popping up all over the place. And if there's anything that this old-fashioned girl doesn't like, it's when I see the reverence for spirituality, for what is going on kind of being pulled out of it. It's if you jump online these days, I mean, there's endless astrology accounts. There's, channelers all over YouTube, psychics all over TikTok. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Honestly, I'm so split on this. I'm super excited about it on one hand, and the other hand I'm just oh my gosh, because there's a level of responsibility that comes with sharing these things that I think unfortunately are not being taken seriously enough. And Not that spirituality needs to be super serious. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, when we engage with the spiritual world, making sure that we're doing so in a way that is intentional, that we protect ourselves and that we are very discerning. And unfortunately, I think a lot of teachers who are out there, especially those who are telling people how to do these things, they aren't taking those sort of ethics into account. And you can really, you know, it can be very dangerous for folks. And, but I just think, in the midst of this, the root of spirituality, fully understanding what it is and why it's so important and why it should play a huge part in our life, is getting lost. You may or may not know my story depending upon how long you've been hanging out, but I was born into this life knowing God. I've always known God. We've always had a close relationship, and my definition of God is love, that eternal source, the creator of all. And I'm so grateful for that and so thankful for that. I mean, I have been blessed beyond imagination simply for that fact, because growing up in life, and going through life, which life is really, it can really kick us in the butt. It can be really effing hard sometimes. But I've always had this foundation below me. I've always been able to set back into that. And also just kind of as a person, I've always been able to have a level of confidence that I rarely see in other people. Because I guess I know it's not just me showing up, it's my team. I've got beings and everything to lean on. And I'm so grateful for that. And I've often looked around my life and even said to myself, man, if I didn't have God, I can't even imagine going through life. I can't even imagine facing difficulties. What would I do? I'd be a train wreck, 1000%, because I'm already a bit of a train wreck. Not a bit, I'm definitely a train wreck. I think we all kind of are in our own ways, but I'm a very intense person. I'm a very passionate person. I like to have fun, and it's really easy for me to get out of balance. One of my big, big lessons right now is learning balance in my life, because I've always been a person of extremes, and I took pride in that, quite frankly. I was like, oh, I'm going to go hard. I'm going to go all in. I'm like, all or nothing. And, I think that has certainly served me in some ways, but in a lot of ways it hasn't. It's burned me out. It's ruined relationships. It's gotten me in some trouble. But even in the midst of that, I've been able to come back to center, come back to kind of knowing who I am, knowing that I'm not alone, that I'm loved. And I just think that, people who, life is empty if you don't have spirituality. It just is. People who don't have spirituality are forever searching for something to fill them up that they're never going to find in this material world. And I've talked about this, before on this podcast and quite recently. But it's something that I have been realizing is very much associated to just who I am, the purpose that I'm here to live out. And part of my message, is that living a life without spirituality is empty. And I don't want anyone to experience that. No one. I don't have enemies, but if I did, I wouldn't even want my enemies to experience that, because it's so empty and lonely. But if we don't fully understand what spirituality is, then we may not, it can feel very esoteric and kind of out there. And we can even consider it to be woo-woo, which spirituality is not woo-woo. Spirituality is something that is very grounded and very solid. Just because we can see it doesn't take away from its credibility or necessity in our life whatsoever. So, I wanted to start with the definition that I found in the Webster's Dictionary because I was like, hey, this is pretty good. So their definition is the quality of being concerned with the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. We don't find spirituality in the outside world, we just don't. And that is why, people who lack spirituality, they can have all the money, they can have all the things, they can whatever, but they're lost inside. They're empty without spirituality. Now, I think that when it comes to the ways in which we look at spirituality, because personally, I think there are so many. And I think that they are all equally valid. And it might kind of come down to like how we practice spirituality in our life. But I think that the definition of spirituality is always kind of changing, quite frankly. I heard a girl talking about pretty recently how her current definition of spirituality is connecting with herself, her body, like her physical body. And I thought that was so beautiful because, our body is our greatest tool in this lifetime. Our body is wise. It can tell us everything we need to know if we can slow down enough to listen to it. And so, wow, what a high level of spirituality that is, But spirituality can look like different things for us, that it can look like journaling, sharing our emotions. It can look like thinking about what it is that we want in life. It can look like, different practices that bring us in. Because truly, when it comes down to what the root of spirituality is, it's all about connecting with who we truly are on the inside. Not in connection to the outside world, but who we are when it's just me, myself, and I, and nobody else is around. Who am I? What do I want? What am I about? What am I not about? Right? And so the ways in which we practice it can come out in a variety of different ways. I created the spiritual toolkit for that purpose. And I created a really freaking long list, and I've already got a second one going that's going to be coming out soon. And the point of me creating such a long list is not to overwhelm you. It's because different things are going to resonate at different points in time and to different people. We're all unique. We're all going through our own unique journey. And so our definition of spirituality in relation to connecting with who we truly are on the inside is going to change. At some point in time in our life, being spiritual might be really about finding what our work is, like our career, which sounds like a very like 3D, like everyday type of thing. And guess what it is? Because spirituality isn't just something that we can't see. It seeps into everything, And for some of us, learning how to really connect with our work, with our career, is actually a very spiritual experience for us. Those who were born most likely with like Saturn and I think your 6th house, this is definitely going to be true for you. You are not going to be able to spiritualize until you really find yourself in the midst of work you love. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Number 2, spirituality is not about laws or dogma, right? That's religion. And within the spiritual community, especially like back in 2020 and, first part of half of 2021, when I was actually sort of kind of whatever paying attention to the spiritual community. And when I say that, I'm speaking specifically about like the New Age metaphysical communities. I was so blown away at the ways in which they were creating laws and dogma about what you need to do if you're a spiritual person, what you need to believe in if you're a spiritual person. You know, these ideas of like, you're not spiritual if you get a vaccine, you're spiritual if you get a vaccine. You know, these kinds of things that separate us. And I know even for myself, when it comes to spirituality, when I start saying something to someone else like, um, you know, you don't want to do this. Or like when I start talking to them about the ways in which something happens, you know, I have to really pull myself back and be cautious about that, you know. I grew up in the Christian church, that is my background, and I was the most liberal Christian I knew until about, oh gosh, 4 years ago now. Um, and so I'm all familiar with the laws, the right, the wrong, you know what I mean? Those kinds of things. And it's so fascinating to me because like the more that I have learned about like the story of Jesus slash Yeshua, his real name, um, it's like the perfect story of what happens when we start wrapping laws and rules and guidelines, like super strict guidelines. To me, when I think of the word guidelines, I think it's much more, you know, there's a lot more space in that. It's more kind of like, yeah, this is a guideline, but you could follow it if you want to or not if you don't, you know? I felt like the message, or I don't feel like, I know the message that Jesus brought to us was so huge. But of course, in the midst of a bunch of humans who couldn't handle this message that no matter what they do, God loves them and they can't fail. And there's no need to like, you know, apply ourselves in a religious way in which to like gain something great from this higher power. There was no way that that wasn't going to eventually be taken and put into law and then, you know, remade at the hands of someone. And so I think whenever we think about spirituality, we need to be really cautious, not only in how we're talking about our viewpoints or our experiences, but also like who we're following and who we are, like what kind of information we're digesting. If it's putting down like really hard, you know, stiff guidelines or stiff laws about what spirituality is and what it isn't and how you practice it and all of those things, whew, put your hands up and walk away. I highly recommend, because that's becoming a religion. And it's been wild for me to see this happening in the spiritual community. It's like, yo, you guys are like starting to do things that you've been like, you know, cutting down, like you've been talking bad about like Christianity. So what's happening? But it is happening. And I think it's, you know, I think it's not because people are terrible and people are whatever. It's because it's really difficult for us to have such a seemingly esoteric practice, you know, that we can't necessarily see unless you're clairvoyant, you know what I mean? You're a medium, whatever the case may be. But we want to categorize things. We want to put labels on things. We want to say, well, this belongs here and that belongs there. But we have to really watch ourselves, because when we start doing that, we start creating all these different hierarchies. And before we know it, we're creating laws around things. Number 3, spirituality is not about being serious. Oh my gosh. And this is a lesson like I continually have to remember and come back to chill the fuck out. Like, seriously. I know I sound like a goofball in this podcast a lot. And I am for sure, but I can really, you know, I'm a very mental person. I'm a logical person. I love to read and I love to learn and I love to debate and I love to talk and I like, you know, all of these different things. And that can really lead to a serious tone. And I really have to watch myself. When I first started doing Akashic Record readings for other people, I would, like, of course, I would get into I would do like a meditation before my sessions would start, and I'd be in this like, woo, spiritual place, and I'll like, oh my gosh, my crown chakra's open, and I'm all centered and like spacey, really. And I would like talk with my clients, and I would like kind of be serious and like, like, oh, this is a sacred thing, and not that it isn't. Oh my gosh, like I have the utmost respect for the Akashic records, how I communicate with them, all of those things. But it was really interesting to me that then I would go into the records and I would have a difficult time communicating with them. And it was, I think, like this was back before I was like charging people, back when I was just practicing. And I think it was like a couple of sessions in, I was reading for a friend of mine who I really love, and we're always laughing together. And so, of course, I showed up in my like, ooh, way. And she asked me a question. We started talking. Before I knew, I was laughing. And then I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to go into the records. And now I'm going to have to like center myself. And like, how's this going to work? And like clockwork, it was so simple. It flowed so well. And I have learned since then that when I am simply myself, goof if I need to be, laugh if I need to be, if I'm in a more serious mood, that's okay too. Even when I'm tired, it's incredible. We don't need to be like any one certain way when it comes to spirituality. And I think that honestly, spirituality is a lot of having fun. What did Jesus said? Jesus said like, be like the children, right? What are kids? Like they're happy. They're curious. They get super excited when things happen. Like they love being surprised. Like they love being in awe. And as adults, we've seen that, well, that's not going to make me laugh. Well, blah, 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 blah. That's not working for us. And if we want to connect spiritually, we want to have those relationships, if you want to read the Akashic Records, or if you want to, like even with my Reiki clients, it's the same thing. I can't show up in some like super serious space and actually be able to fully connect with that person in front of me and actually be able to be the channel for that beautiful energy. It's not like it stops working, it just doesn't work as well. So, and I think, like in the midst of us having fun, absolutely, it is so important for us to maintain a reverence and awareness with what it is that we're doing. Number 4, being spiritual is being linked with a higher power than ourselves. But not always. Because of my background, because of the fact that I was born into this lifetime knowing God, because of who I am, for me, it's it's non-negotiable. Like there's just no question for me that me being spiritual is stepping into this part of myself that is linked to this higher power. But that is not for everyone, and that's okay. Some of the most spiritual people that I've met are atheists. And that's simply because like they know themselves really well. They're usually quite educated. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of where they're at. And that's totally cool. Again, it kind of goes back to the laws, the dogma, the like, oh, you got to have this or you got to have that in order to be spiritual. No, you don't. You don't. I know what works for me, but someone else works differently, and they're equally as valid, right? I think that especially in this day and age, it's so important that we honor other people, where they're at on their journey, what it is that they're doing. And mind you, I don't look at atheists and think like, oh, well, maybe you'll wake up and smell the coffee one day. Like that's not how I look at that. Absolutely. I have total reverence and respect for their path. I don't know what that's like. I don't. I just know what my path is like. Um, and that's cool. You do you, I'll do me. And that's really how we need to be looking at other people, right? So when this all kind of comes back together, I mean, this is not like rocket science stuff necessarily, but again, I just felt it was so important for us to really talk about spirituality and talk about what it is, like what is it for you? That's why one of the questions that I always ask my guests that I have on the show is, what is spirituality for you? I'm so curious to hear. It's like, sometimes they really say something that gets me thinking, and I'm like, ooh, I'm going to walk away with this gem. I'm going to like gnarl on this one a little bit. Sometimes what they share doesn't really resonate with me, and that's okay. But I just think it's important that we understand what spirituality is for us in our own way. And, the spiritual toolkit that I created, it was literally created to help you connect back with who you are on the inside. Because at the end of the day, and no matter what way we look at spirituality, that's what it is, right? Who we are on the inside. We may practice it in a million different ways. We may even describe it in different ways. But at its very essence, it's connecting with that gorgeousness that is you, that is inside of us at any given moment. It's that wisdom. It's that quiet space. It's that if you love to meditate, man, oh, I can get in there and I'm just like, I don't want to come back. I don't want to come back to real life because it feels so good. But of course, I incarnated on this planet for a reason, so I'm here. So yeah. I hope that this was helpful for you, that this got you thinking. I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are on this episode, so definitely shoot me an email, let me know. If you liked it, share it with a friend. That would be fantastic. Please hook me up with a Christmas present. Rate my show, rate my show. Hopefully, and I don't even know what'll happen with iTunes. They might totally screw that up too, but I'm giving it a try. I'm going for it. So yes, I wish you an amazing week. Just incredible week. I'm super excited to see you next week for the forecast. I can't even wait. So definitely make sure you join for that and for the Akashic reading the following week for 2022. There's going to be transcripts for that as well that'll be written out. If that's a little easier for you, you can check out both, whatever it is that you want to do. Either way, I wish you the best. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Make sure to sign up for the email list if you want to stay on top of the things that are going on behind the scenes with the podcast, with the business stuff, with the workshops, which there's going to be so many good ones coming in 2022. Yeah, I have problems sleeping these days because there's just so many ideas coming in. But yeah, big love, big love. Take care of yourself. And don't forget, when we invest in ourselves, the world benefits. Until next week.